Yo, everybody, it's Heat Override, and I'm ready to bring the pain for you this week and for Dr. Roto this week. As a follow-up to my IDP articles, I wanted to do 3 little podcasts that quickly explain some of the ideas that and the reasons why I went into highlighting these defensive players on my defensive rankings list that you can find on Dr. Roto. So without further ado, let's get to it. Oh, yeah. This one right here is going to be the defensive line. I'm not even going to talk about Aaron Donald. We know what Aaron Donald can do. But a lot of people forget what TJ Watt can do when he's on the field. So when you look at game 1 before the injury last year at Cincinnati, 6 tackles, 1 sack, this was equating to, 20 some points in an IDP league. All those weeks gone, comes back, gets right back into it. And by the end of the season, he is into season form. So another thing about IDP, if you haven't been over there on the site, reading my articles, listening to how I approach things with the tools that I use for IDP, you'll know that a lot of it is always putting yourself in the best position. You got to get the most points, the most average points. People who are always going to be in the best position to get those points, right? Makes sense. Well, when it came to playoffs, right? Watt came through. He had 10 points, 17.8, and then another 10 points in the final 3 weeks. Now, that's good. That's good. That's to be expected. Those are really hard games, and they're, Pittsburgh kind of, they were mailing it in at that point. But, that's what TJ does. So right now, if you went over to Dr. Roto, you'll see that I did actually rank Nick Bosa as my number 1 guy. And, is Nick better than Joey? That has no reason to turn. But I will say this: San Francisco's defense is definitely always strong, and with Werner running around out there, he's going to wreak havoc. So here's the thing: when you look at the end of the season for Nick Bosa, overall, I mean, man, this dude got it done. And if you look at the first week of your playoffs, he gets 2 sacks, 7 tackles, equates to 27 points. That's crazy. Now, that is in a league that have jacked up stats. So that's like, I think it's 5 points per sack. But at the same point, to get those points from a defensive player is almost criminal. Let's get to the next tier, because that was the first tier. I wanted to talk. I didn't have to really talk too much about Aaron Donald. So right now, we're just literally going down my defensive lineman tiers over on the IDP. That's my article that I wrote up over there. So if you want to follow the podcast with the way that this is getting written, when we get to year 2, Zaven Collins. Look, all right, right now, Zaven Collins on ESPN, it currently is still ranked as a defensive end. Now, the thing about that is that Zaven Collins is going to play off the line a little more. So technically, he's a linebacker. And that right there kind of gives you he's like a cheat sheet for you. Zaven Collins, a lot of people do know his name, but they're not going to be thinking about him when they get to the defensive ends. They're going to be looking for him in the linebackers. They're going to get lost. They're going to pick somebody else, and you're going to be able to grab Zaven Collins and another high-tier linebacker and be able to pair those guys the rest of the season. You will get your points guaranteed. Again, comes down to the last, he did miss, the week 18 San Francisco, but when it comes down to the playoffs, right here, right now, he had 8 tackles, 6 tackles, 7 tackles. He didn't get any sacks, but he did enough to keep those points. That equated to 10.7, 11.5, and 12.6 points. That in an IDP league is well worth more than anything you can want. That's perfect. And if you're getting that from a defensive end and you pair that with a linebacker that gets 10 to 15 every game, you're getting at least 20 to 25 average defensive points every single week, giving you, if your league average is anywhere from 120 to 140 points with an IDP or 2 involved, you're already looking at least 20% of your points already cashed in. And that's what it's all about. Let's get over to that, everybody else. I highlighted Jonathan Allen, and Quinnen Williams, he's gonna have a great year. Let's just move along to the next tier, the final tier, the late busters, the guys who you can get late that nobody's gonna be thinking about. No one's gonna be thinking about Matthew Judon. Believe that. And everybody may have forgotten about Jeffrey Simmons, but now that he's got Harold Landry, the third back, that man's gonna be all over the field. You get that team, and Pete, you could definitely get Simmons at a great, great price. And you're not, are you getting Aaron Donald? Yeah, yeah. You know what? You are, and you can get Aaron Donald. There's definitely games. In the first game last year against the Giants, Simmons had 2 sacks and six total tackles. In this league, again, with the sacks being jacked up because of the way the league is, 24 points to start off the year. And that, he ended the year on a dud, but the Titans were so beat down physically, lost so many people. There was nothing anybody else could do with that season. But at the same time, you wanted to look at. Now, let's get to the guy who everybody will be sleeping on, and you will get him at a great price. And that is no more than Aiden Hutchinson for the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are definitely a favorite to go to the Super Bowl. They're definitely going to cause some ripples in the NFC. And when you get somebody who's young in the league, this goes for all of your leagues. This could be your IDP league for a redraft system. This can be your dynasty leagues that allow you defensive players from a defensive. Now, this is, again, going back to the Zayman Collins time. Hutchinson is a great player, and as a defensive end, he ended the playoffs last year. And the reason why I bring up playoffs is that is when you need your team, your defensive players to come out. And that is when you can pick up almost any defensive players in those stream. If your league allows that, you can pick up players through that time period. You definitely can. You will win. You will win, just like I did last year when I won it all on my defensive players. And that's what I keep talking about. And that was because Jalen Petrie and Roquan Smith had the perfect matchups the last 3 weeks for each of their teams. And it worked out to great, great, massive points. That was just hard for my opponents to overcome, giving me the win. And the defending champion, taking back my belt that I had lost, that injuries had kept me up. Yeah, that's what we do. Oh, yeah, that's how we bring the pain. That's what we do, right? But when you get back to it, these guys, everybody mentioned on these lists, go Jalen Phillips for the Dolphins. The Dolphins are going to have a great defense. That's why Jalen Phillips was already featured on Dr. Roto on my IDP article weeks ago. That's what it's all about. Get ready for the next one. This was the defensive tackles. We got the linebackers coming through. We got this corner, the defensive backs coming through. Everything's at work. Get over to Dr. Roto. Get ready for your NFL drafts. And always remember to bring the pain. Oh, yeah.